In today's DIY video, grab Dollar Tree Jenga blocks now. Quick and easy tumbling tower block wood Christmas ornaments. We are making 3 variations of Dollar Tree Jenga block Christmas ornaments. We're using tumbling tower blocks and some Dollar Tree craft sticks to create these beautiful high-end looking wood ornaments for your Christmas tree or just as holiday decor. A little boho, a little rustic, and very trendy. You don't want to miss this DIY. So stick around, let's go make some stuff and jump right into this. To begin with, I'm using Dollar Tree tumbling tower blocks, some super glue wood glue, and this pair of miter shears I got on Amazon, which I will link for you in the description box below. Also using some Dollar Tree craft sticks. I did the math for you, and I'm using a total of 18 craft sticks for 3 ornaments. First, I cut them all in half in the middle of the stick, then cut each half stick in half lengthwise, and that's the long way. I did that for all 18 craft sticks. I wanted each of the quarter pieces of craft stick to be cut on an angle so that 2 sticks will fit together in a small V formation, but the 45-degree angle on my miter shears was not deep enough an angle to do this, so I estimated the deeper angle myself on one of those sticks. And then I followed that line to cut it with the miter shears instead of using the actual guide that was on the shears, if that makes any sense. I just cut my pencil line with the shears and then proceeded to use that angle cut stick as a template to pencil mark the angle to cut on all of those other pieces of stick. Then I cut all those little pieces at the same angle, just on one side. Sounds complicated, so not. Watch what I'm doing. Each ornament uses 5 tumbling tower blocks as the base, and I made 3 ornaments, so I'm using 15 blocks total. I glue 3 together, one stacked on top of the other like this, and then 1 block going the opposite direction on each side of my 3 block groups. Easy peasy. I'm going to do this 3 times. 2 of them are just plain unpainted Jenga blocks, and I also did one of the ornaments using some leftover coffee stain Jenga blocks that I had lying around. And if you've never coffee stained your Jenga blocks, it's easy. Just make super strong instant coffee and throw a bunch of blocks in a bowl, let them soak a couple of hours, and then take them out to dry, and you get these lovely coffee stained blocks. Rather than work with my little stick pieces on the actual ornament bases, I decided to trace and cut out the shape and size of the base and then just use that as a template so that I could arrange and work with my little stick pieces for my design before I was ready to glue them or make anything permanent. Okay, so my goal was to make these little miniature versions of those gorgeous wood wall art pieces that you see everywhere. And those sell for a lot of money, but we are going to capture that stylishness onto some Christmas ornaments. So we are building mountainscapes out of these little angle cut sticks. First, by attaching all of them into little V's using some wood glue. And disclaimer here, I have said it before and I will say it again. I am not the brightest crayon in the box. Really, it would have been much easier to just make one V shape and then add each piece of stick onto that and then glue them together like V's. But sometimes I just opt for the hard way. You can do as I say, or you can do as I do. Your choice, that's up to you. But first, I glued all my little pieces into V shapes. So all my many sticks are glued into their V shapes, and we are going to need 12 V's for each ornament. And I decided to make 3 mountain shapes to fit on each ornament. The first mountain shape is made of 5 V's, the second is made of 4 V's, and the third mountain is the smallest one made up of 3 V's for a total of 12. So for 3 ornaments using 12 V's each, we need a total of 36 V shapes to make these 3 ornaments. I start by gluing together 5 V's, and these sticks are rarely perfectly straight. So sometimes you're going to have to maneuver them and squeeze them to get them to fit together nicely. They can be just a little bit wonky, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So don't sweat that. Also, I want to repeat the fact that had I only made 1 V and then attached each of my little stick pieces to that V separately and not in V's already, it would have been faster and easier to make these mountains and to have them fit more snugly together. So again, do as I say, not as I do. I am here to make the mistakes for you so that you don't have to. You're welcome. While my mountains are drying, I start to paint the ornament bases. For the first one, I'm going to do a kind of stained ombre look with two blue colors. I'm using Apple Barrel Award Blue and Apple Barrel Blue Bahama, which I will link for you below. I added plain water to both of the paints so that I could thin them out and that I would still see the wood grain underneath the sheer colors. I start with the lighter blue and I paint the bottom of the ornament and work my way up to that darker blue at the top of the ornament. And then I kind of smush the two colors together at the middle to create this stained ombre effect. I keep adding more and more color until it looks the way that I wanted to. I was going for a night sky kind of a feel, though admittedly, it did have a little beachy feel to me, but I don't care. I still liked the blue shades. Next, on my coffee stained base, I wanted an even deeper brown color on the all over base part. So I started with a mixture of folk art antique wax, which I will link for you below, and I mixed it with water, painted over that coffee stain. Then I switched to straight up antique wax, no water, because I wanted to get it an even deeper brown. And then I just wipe away the excess wax with a dry paper towel. For the third and final ornament, I wanted more of a natural wood, but with a tiny bit more warm wood look to it. So I mixed some Apple Barrel khaki, which I will link for you below, mixed that with water, and painted that onto the ornament base. It did give it a little bit more of a golden look, I want to say, but still very much a natural wood look. I was happy with it. Once the glue was dry on all my mountains, I took some thin painter's tape, which I will link for you below, although it was not the best at preventing bleed through, so just be wary of that. And as I said, I made 3 mountains for each ornament, one with 5 V's, one with 4 V's, and one with 3 V's. So 3 ornaments equals 3 of each size mountain. I wanted all of my mountains to have a little jagged snow cap at the top. So I'm using this thin tape and I tape off the top 3 V's on that 5V mountain, the top 2 V's on that 4V mountain, and the top 1V on the 3V mountain. I also taped them sort of like steps so that the paint would then look kind of jagged once the tape was removed. I used a mixture of folk art white chalk paint and water and painted above the taped off part of my mountains, and I wanted that to look like snow. So I ended up doing about 3 coats of this chalk paint and water mixture. That way the snow caps looked kind of whitewashed and not a solid white color. When the chalk paint dried, I removed the tape and saw just how uneven my paint lines were, so I ended up having to fix them and I neatened them up by hand. But it did add a little rustic quality to the mountain, so this was my first set of the 3 mountains. I wanted them to be brown because they're going to be on the natural wood color base. So I'm using the antique wax and water mixture to paint the wood sticks. And I only paint up until that snow cap line that I made. I paint the front and then I paint all of the edges of the mountain, again, up until the snow cap line. I only needed to do 1 coat to get that brown with a nice wood green color that was showing through. For the second ornament, I'm using the dark brown base, so I decided those 3 mountains should be the natural wood color. So I used some more of the khaki color mixed with water, and just like we did with the brown mountains, we're going to paint all the wood sticks just up until the snowcap line, making sure to get the edges also up into the snowcap line as well. I think I may have done 2 coats of the khaki with water for these 3 mountains. The mountains for the blue base also got a coat of the khaki mixed with water, but on those, I also added some distressing on the edges and a little bit in the front with some of the antique wax and a dry, rough brush, just to give those mountains a little bit more character and a little bit more of an aged feel to them and to make them different than my other set of natural color mountains. Starting with the brown ornament base and the natural color mountains, we're going to be layering the 3 mountains onto each ornament in 3 different configurations. So for this first ornament and this first mountain, I start with the largest mountain made out of the 5 V's, and I place it where I want it on the ornament. Then using a pencil, I mark the back of the mountain where I want to cut it to fit the ornament. I started using the miter shears, but quickly switched to a regular strong scissors to cut the pencil line. And I figured out the best way to cut these without breaking the sticks was to hold that mountain firmly together and to cut in a quick, smooth action, just to avoid breaking any of those mountains apart. I use super glue wood glue to attach the first large mountain onto the base. Then I take that 4V mountain, that's the medium size, and I figure out exactly where I want to place it on the ornament. Then I turn that around and mark with a pencil on the back of the mountain where we're going to need to cut it. Then I carefully cut on that pencil line with a scissors, and then I can glue that medium-sized mountain down onto the ornament where we had decided to place it. Lastly, I layer that third small mountain in the middle of and resting on those first 2 mountains. And I'm going to mark the cutting line with a pencil and then cut it, and then we glue the final mountain resting on those 2 larger mountains right there in the middle. I made a simple jute twine loop on the back of the ornament, secured with a piece of craft stick over it, and because I was not crazy about how the edges of my ornament looked, I decided to frame it with some nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I cut a piece of the rope and hot glued it along the edge of the ornament. And this is how the first ornament turned out. So cute, right? Is it boho or is it rustic? Let me know in the comments. This second ornament, we're layering the smallest mountain first. Same as we did before, we're going to place it and then we're going to mark it with a pencil. Then we're going to cut it and glue it down onto the ornament. Moving on to the middle size mountain next. I place it where I want it. Then I mark it with a pencil, cut it, and then we're going to glue it down. We layered the largest mountain last, resting on the 2 other mountains and in between the 2 of them. Same thing as the others, we place it, we mark it, we cut it, and we glue it down. And I also glued a little piece of craft stick underneath the middle of that large mountain to hold it there securely, hold it attached to the ornament base, as well as it being attached to the 2 other mountains. Off camera, I made a very basic frame out of craft sticks, painted with the khaki and water mixture, and hot glued a twine loop to the back for a hanger. And this is how the second Jenga block wood ornament turned out. Also really cute and rustic and simple, but in my opinion, kind of chic. We're gonna speed through this last ornament. We layered the small mountain first, and like the others, placed it, marked it, cut it, and glued it. Second was the medium-sized mountain, and we also placed it, marked it, cut it, and then we glued it. Lastly, we layered the large mountain. First, we placed it, marked it, and then glued it down, and we also used another small piece of craft stick underneath this large mountain to give it some more support. Using some floral wire from Dollar Tree and some wood pony beads that I got on Amazon, which I will link for you below, I strung the beads on the wire, used some hot glue to attach the wired beads individually to the edge of my ornament to create a frame, and I stopped gluing at the second or third bead in on the top of the ornament on each side, and then I shaped the remaining beaded wire into a loop hanger. And this is how the third ornament turned out. I wasn't sure about the blue background, but I actually love it. It might actually be my favorite. And here we have all 3 Jenga block wood ornaments, or technically, they're actually mini wood art. I fell in love with these ornaments. They are so sleek and trendy and just high-end decor in miniature. I think they make really interesting and unique Christmas tree ornaments, and I don't know if you'd classify them as rustic or boho or maybe even modern. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments what vibe these Jenga block ornaments are giving you. I hope you enjoyed this Medicated Housewife DIY, and if you did, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. It really helps out my channel. Once again, I really appreciate you watching, and a very big thank you to my subscribers. I am so thankful you all take the time to watch, and I wish all of you and your families a very happy holiday season. Until next time, I'm the Medicated Housewife, and crafting is my medication.